Your description of your son in his mother's womb was beautiful. Okay, so this is something that I've talked about a lot in abortion and the way that we recognize rights.
Hmm.
And um, there's a lot of people, and I always bring up that we are endowed with a soul, and that we are endowed with a soul from our Creator. I mean, that is the in the Declaration of Independence. They said we find these rights to be self-evident that we are endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights.
Right.
But there's almost no follow-up to it when people talk about women's rights and when people talk about abortion in general.
Right.
They fail to articulate what it means when like the entire base of America is the idea that we as humans have rights from our creator. Logic
Hmm.
to me would dictate that if we have a creator and we are endowed with the soul and we are endowed with well something resembling a soul, something
Okay.
worthy of recognizing
Mhm.
that uh, that we can each say is worthy of rights, or at least like me recognizing your right. Okay,
Hmm. Okay.
if we say that, then when do we start recognizing those rights? A lot of people will say birth, but
Hmm.
to me, it doesn't make sense because the experiences that I've had in my life, I can guarantee that there's obvious life before that. And
Correct.
I mean, my son was born prematurely. He was born at
That's what I
five
was about to
pounds.
mention. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 pounds, 5 ounces. And since he was born prematurely, he spent a week in the NICU
Hmm.
and was saved by all of the medical equipment that we had and was saved by all of the people there. But in Washington State right now, they're trying to enshrine in the Washington State Constitution. They're actually bringing up a constitutional amendment for this, basically saying that you cannot interfere with a woman's right to choose. Okay, so
Okay.
they want to enshrine in the Constitution the ability to abort a baby up until birth,
Oh.
which is fundamentally, I mean, it doesn't make sense. If we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable
Hmm.
rights, then you can't say that birth is what actually is the time where we should start recognizing those rights. Because if we
Correct.
do have if we were created and we have a creator, logic would dictate that we're endowed with those rights when we are created. And by all standards, when you look at how humans are created, it is
Hmm.
at the zinc spark during
Correct.
fertilization. There's a lot of complications that happen. Not every single egg that
Hmm.
gets fertilized comes to fruition, and there's a lot of confusion and intentional misleading from these abortionists, these
Right.
pro-abortion radical zealots that say that a miscarriage. They will literally say a miscarriage is an abortion. It's like a sudden abortion or a
Oh
sudden
God.
onset, whatever they say. But
Right.
the morality of an abortion is so insanely different than having a miscarriage.
Correct. Yes. I mean, I don't understand how they can create those two arguments or tie those two together. Um, yeah, the Zing Spark, in my opinion, is where people get their soul, where they have rights. In my opinion, if I'm pro life, obviously, so I think every abortion is murder, and I think it's even further than that. I think it's these people that are higher up and they're pushing this agenda as a satanic ritual.
Yeah, well, it's there's over 3,000 abortions a day, and a lot of women are tricked into believing.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, here we go. This is it. Yeah, they call it a spontaneous abortion.
Oh, you're
All
right.
right. So the conflation of these two actions, and because these are intentional actions, okay? Conflating
Correct.
these two is like conflating if someone murders somebody, if like you're driving your car and you just decide to swerve into a bicycle rider and you end up killing him, like that guy would be charged with murder, okay? Or attempted murder. If the guy didn't die and he went to the hospital and the doctor tried to save him but couldn't,
Hmm.
uh, the doctor would not be charged with murder. Like if he did everything in his power to try and save him, you wouldn't charge that doctor with murder.
Well, yeah.
Okay? That's like the intention behind having an abortion and um, having a
But
miscarriage.
on the same token, say a pregnant female gets murdered, sh that's a double homicide. So if these people are arguing that life begins at actual birth, then what is going on here? If a DA finds out that if a woman is pregnant, no matter what stage, and that baby dies, that person is going to be charged with double murder. So why aren't we saying that on the other side with abortion? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So when I discuss abortion, especially with women who've had abortions, because I've had this a couple times, it's extremely painful for a woman to come to the conclusion that she killed her own child. Um, but it does have to be said that when the zinc spark happens, and it's one of the most
Mhm.
fascinating things. Maybe I'll actually pull it up right now and show you guys the video because this is it's a beautiful thing. It's 30 seconds. It's not very long, but let's watch this really quick.
This is the documented moment of conception. And the sperm enters the egg, and there's this poof of light that comes off of it. Scientists
That's
are
crazy.
studying this, and they're looking at it, and they're like, okay, well, it looks like it's a release of zinc, a burst of zinc that comes off the egg, and it creates this appearance. But any way you slice it, they can't explain away that light happens when life happens. Is that amazing? Light happens when life happens. So this
It is absolutely amazing. And most people don't even know about this, and they do this intentionally to keep, especially women. They want to keep women in the dark, and they want abortions to be an out of sight, out of mind procedure to
Correct.
remove a clump of cells. They use this terminology to disconnect you from your child. And
Oh, that's
it's been
yeah.
brought up for so many years. We've talked about this uh, from the mother's perspective in
Mhm.
saying that the mother has the right to choose and the mother gets to decide. But in all reality, the conversation that we have to have is when are we, as Americans, endowed with inalienable rights? That's not specified. If we specify if we make a constitutional amendment, okay, or a federal law that says that we are endowed with inalienable rights at the moment of creation from our creator, which would be logically consistent, which would be morally consistent, which would be consistent with whether you believe in whether you believe in Christianity and God or you're a complete atheist. Scientific standards, all of it comes together in that our
Right.
creator, and this is when I say our creator, this is the fundamental, like, this is the base of American rights. And our
Yep.
entire government is based on the fact that we as Americans have rights. So you can't
Correct.
say that we don't have a creator, because if you do, then you're just going off the deep end and saying that you have the ability to grant or take rights away. And mothers don't
That's
have
slippery
that
slope in
ability.
itself,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
giving power to these people that will like rule your life, and yeah, dude, I totally get it and understand completely. I totally agree.
Yeah. So as an American, if we are talking about rights in general, when do rights begin? And what is it about humans that is worthy of recognition of those rights? It can't be biological, because I hear a lot of biological arguments like, oh, it's a clump of cells, or it's not a baby, it's a fetus, or it's a zygote. They can't distinguish between zygote and fetus because the zygote doesn't look human. Well,
Right.
it can't be biological, because if a veteran goes off to war and he gets his legs blown off, he comes back home, he doesn't lose half his rights because he lost half his body. He has the
Okay.
same amount of rights. So there's no way for us to tie our rights to a biological point. You can't say that because you're not as human as the rest of us, then therefore lose certain rights. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we're obviously not just meat buckets with electrical currents that is like we have something resembling a soul. And it has to be that way, because otherwise, if you were to delete somebody, it would be like shutting off a computer. If we're
Mhm.
just meat buckets with electrical currents that give us the perception of thought, then then it would be no different than shutting off a computer. But no, there's something more intrinsic, something more divine
Yep.
with humans that is worthy of recognition of rights. And if we are to recognize that we are endowed with rights from our creator, whatever it may be, or whoever he may be, then we have to recognize that it starts at the moment of creation. And that is the zinc spark during fertilization. And if we codify that into law, abortion won't even be a topic, because we have to recognize that humans are worthy of rights when they're created by our creator.
Wow, that was spectacular, dude.
I've thought about
that-
this for a long time. Had
I can
many
tell.
conversations.
I put a lot of deep thought behind that, and I'm almost kind of speechless, bro. Like that was really mind blowing. Like, made me think a lot, and kind of consider that how you perceive, rights, because it not only does it just tie into abortion, but every fundamental right as an American. And we have to understand that, these things are so precious, like life is so precious, and our rights are so precious, and we have to do everything we can to protect those. Whether
It's our
it be,
duty.
it's absolutely. And man, that was a great way to end this show.
We pray, defending our home, guardians of light. Together we stand, tribe of patriots unite. Battle in the heartland, voices pure and loud, building up the fortress.